kaiju, Dragon Ball, Pokemon, and more. It's Steven's Toy Reviews. Hello there, collectors. It is Steven here, and for the last time, I will be reviewing an Alola Evolution starter set, and that is because we have all three now with the Decidueye Evolution set featuring another release of the Rowlet figure you have seen with the Clip and Carry set and the Battle Action set, and whatever else it's been released in. A new Dartrix figure, the first time it's been released in North America, and a brand new Decidueye action figure. This 3-pack set rounds off the initial trio that you can pick from at the beginning of your Alolan adventures, and oh boy, we have got a set here. And considering it's exclusive to the now bankrupt Belly Up Toys R Us, is it worth racing the clock and picking it up at retail? Or should you just let this one go to the birds? Or wait a minute, it's an owl, so it's not a bird. Anyway, let's take a look to see whether or not it's worth adding into your collection. So to kick off the review, here is a quick look at the packaging where you can see how everything is laid out. And I do have to say it is a bit depressing seeing that only a Toys R Us sticker, considering the way that things are going for the company. Sooner or later, we're not going to be able to pick this up on the store shelves, even for backstock. So I am wondering, considering the timing of this release and the news of bankruptcy, how everything is going to play out. So will it remain an exclusive? I don't know. Regardless, that's what you're going to be seeing. Rowlet, Dartrix, and Decidueye, along with the arrow accessory for Decidueye in the packaging. So despite the fact that Tomy, I guess, is releasing another pose for Rowlet at some point during their product line, even though I'm hearing that some stuff may or may not make it to the market in time, whatever, we do get the same attack pose for Rowlet in this 3-pack set. And I do have to say that it's nice to see that we have something that's front-facing compared to the other two sets that we're looking off to the side for Litten and Poplio, and we do have a nice leafage pose here for Rowlet. Unfortunately, the paint application isn't necessarily the best. It does look like there's some smudging right out of the way on the little mask here for Rowlet, the white parts. Green for the little bow tie there is smudged a bit. It's some brown on there, which isn't very great, you know. But realistically speaking, this is going to amount to be somewhere in the $3 range. And for that price point, I'm not necessarily expecting perfection. I'm going to save that for the one that's going to come with the Figma Celine in April, or Figma Moon, depending on how you look at things. So overall, there's no articulation here. The feet don't turn at all. The wings aren't on swivels, which would have been nice to see, but you know what? Again, for about what is realistically speaking $3, I'm not complaining here. If you're looking for a nice little, somewhat in-scale Rowlet figure with some of the other figures you might have in your collection, I think this will do the job very nicely. Now the Gentleman Dartrix here, and I do have to say they really did this stage well. Relatively speaking, there's going to be no paint slop here. Yes, the brown does bleed into the white mask area for Dartrix, if you will, just a little bit, but you know what? It's not too much that I'm going to be upset over. The white is relatively clean, no smudginess that you might see coming from the factory, and I really don't imagine that it's going to be something that's going to look a little grimy over time. You may notice with some figures that have white paint, they may tend to turn yellow and look dirty over time, but for some reason I'm not feeling this here, simply because it's not a pure bright white color that you may see. It already sort of has a yellowish, brownish tint to it, so it's sort of like they're pre-aging it as if that's not going to affect the white over time. Thumbs up to Tomy on that one. So overall, this Dartrix is a really neat figure, despite the fact that it's in kind of a neutral pose, so that should make everyone happy. Now, Dartrix actually does have some articulation. Even though it's pretty basic, it will make some action figure fans happy. We do have some swivels where the wings or arms, whatever you want to call them, plug into the body, and the legs at the hips are on swivels, and the little feetsies are on swivels as well, so they can spin around. Even though he does have a couple of joints, realistically speaking, aside from maybe walking or some shenanigans like you're going to see at the end of the video, he's not going to be able to pull off too much. But it's nice to see the joints are there. And now the main star of the show here, the reason why everyone's going to be picking up the set, Decidueye. And I do have to say, Decidueye looks very nice. And one of the fears that I had, I realistically have to say I'm still 50-50 about, and that would be the material for the wings. And we're going to discuss that a little bit more when I get to the wings section. But overall, I think Decidueye is going to be in the same vein as Incineroar and Primarina in terms of quality, where for the majority of the figure, it does look nice, except for in a couple of spots, there are some quality control issues that either I wish they would have tightened up, or realistically speaking, there's not much more they could have done there. And one of the things that I'm specifically talking about where they probably couldn't have done any better unless they would have really invested in it and they would have shot prices up way through the roof would be in the face. You see, the eyes actually look very, very nice. We have what looked to be an almost tan color used for the eyes along with orange and black. What I'm saying here that it wasn't necessarily clean is if you look at the white that's used closer to where his chin would be, we do have a couple of what look to be black smudges. And that's probably just some leftover paint from one of the processes, maybe spray or brush or whatnot, and I'm not really too upset about that because it doesn't necessarily ruin the look entirely, and from some angles you really can't see it at all because it would be covered in shadow. So I'm not upset about that too much. But other than that, the face looks really nice. When we take a look at the feather up at the top of the head, the orange is pretty much clean compared to the rest of the feather, so that is great to see. And then moving on down, the main bow tie, that X is very, very pencil precision clean. There are no issues to see there. Taking a look at the actual wings of Decidueye, they're made of a nice fabric material with stitching to them. And they do have a couple of little, I guess we're going to call them decals on them. For the inner portion of Decidueye's wings, it looks like we have orange arrowheads, and on the back we have white dots. It's nice to see that they actually included detail for the wings, because sometimes you're going to have companies who just simply skimp out of the details, and it's nice to see that they're here. One of the issues that I do have with the wings is I'm worried that over time that these might begin to fray or the stitching might pop, and if that's the case, we're going to have some very ugly arms on an owl. Which, again, isn't a bird. So, continuing on down for the arms, we do have his little hands that do have some tan-ish colored paint for the fingertips, the wingtips. I don't know. It's a weird hybrid combination between normal arms and wings, so we're going to call them hands and fingers. So here on the right one, we do actually have notches in the hand area, and that is actually to hold the arrow, which you're going to see in a little bit. For the main body of Decidueye, we actually do have a rockin' six-pack. That's actually kind of creepy to see. I don't think any owl should have a six-pack. That's very weird. But they did include it on this one. It's actually raised up, and it's textured pretty well. It actually does cast a nice shadow, so it is definitely something that's a pretty intense detail. And then we do have the tassels, I guess you want to call them, of his cloak. One of them, it does kind of move, and you're going to see that in a little bit. Continuing on down, we do just have the legs, which look pretty much fine, and we do have some green paint on the claws. Unfortunately, it's just a little bit to highlight them and accent them to make them look like claws, but it is kind of a sloppy brush. On the back of Decidueye, we basically just have the similar paint patterns that we've seen throughout the figure so far, and it's again mostly clean. So overall for Decidueye, he looks very nice with a couple of areas where the quality control maybe could have been touched up, but at the same time, I think they did the best they could considering it's about a $13 action figure. So Decidueye's articulation is a bit of a monkey's paw because yes, we do have a nice action figure and it being an inclusion in Pokken Tournament and all that fun stuff. We do have another fighter here and we do have an action figure, so yay, but at the same time, oh boy, wow. Tomy, you did not do this guy justice. I wish I had a face cam for this because I'm rubbing my face with this reaction. So what do we have here? Head attaches in the neck on a swivel. That's it. Spinning around. Now, I completely understand with Decidueye's design that we're going to have this cloak portion here that's going to bend down. However, it's a harder plastic. It's pliable, movable, bendable, whatever you want to say, to an extent, but not too much. So even though we do have a swivel hinge shoulder joint here and here, obviously that's about it. That's literally as far out as they can go. You can try pushing, you're just going to bend the plastic and it's just naturally going to move back down. But yeah, that's about as far as we're going to go. We do have swivel hinges at the elbows, so this way you can move them just like that, and then you can also turn them like that. So that's pretty neat. Then for the wrists, we also have swivels as well. No hinges or ball joints or anything like that to help support that anymore, just swivels. No hidden joint here, even though they could have easily added in a swivel. There's another kind of sort of joint here I'm going to talk about in a little bit, but we can wait. Hips are ball joints, so that's good. Knees are just hinges. They couldn't sneak a swivel in there? No. So the legs are going to go out about that far. Forward, obviously no issues there. Back, the tail feathers, yeah, no. Ankles are on ball joints. They rock back and forth, a little bit of forward and back. They spin around. No real ankle rocker movement. So legs are kind of limited as well. They could have absolutely gotten in a swivel there. So yeah, Decidueye's articulation is very, very depressing, especially when we get into the one accessory that's included, which is very nice. On ToysRUs.com's listing, it did say that it comes with a Z crystal. It does not, so don't expect any Z move possibility there. So if you have the Z ring gimmick toy, you're not going to be able to use any of the sound effects if you buy the set. But we do get this nice little arrow here that's meant for Decidueye to actually use for Spirit Shackle and, by an extent, Sinister Arrow Raid. And to accompany that, this actually can go into Decidueye's body since it's just like a shell cavity. So you can push that string in and pull it out. And the whole idea is that he's supposed to hold this up and to sort of knock the arrow. The only problem is the articulation just, it doesn't work. So on his right hand, he does have a little notch in there so he can hold the arrow, but by no means does he have the articulation to even sort of make it look like he can fire off anything. So I'm putting more force than I need to. Yeah. So, disappointing. So yeah, we do get an articulated Decidueye figure that comes with an arrow to make it look like he's going to fire it for his signature moves, but he can't use it. Yeah, so that's just disappointing. But, you know, you can definitely use effect parts that you can buy separately to build a nice Z-Move display for Decidueye. Of course, you know I have a video for that, so if you want to click the card in the top right-hand corner of your screen, I can help you out with that. So this way you can really make it look like Decidueye's firing off a really powerful arrow in that regard. But realistically speaking, we do have some pretty disappointing articulation, especially coming off of the amazing Incineroar and the pretty solid Primarina. And the accessory, though it is pretty nice, he's basically only going to be able to carry it around like he might be firing off an arrow, not that he's actually going to be firing one. And now to wrap the whole review up, here is a size comparison with some other figures you just might have. So whether or not it's just going to be displaying them alongside your favorite Pokemon trainer in your general action figure display or even on a Pokemon tournament shelf, Decidueye and company are going to look very nice alongside your other figures. So, buy now, skip, or wait for a deal. Realistically speaking, I do find Rowlet to be disappointing. If you're someone who's looking to simply collect everything that Tomy is putting out, you're going to have a couple of these Rowlets in your collection already, and Tomy did say that they were going to make another pose for Rowlet. It is actually in one of the pamphlets that they have, and why they didn't include this one in the set, I don't know. And if you're an import collector, then you're going to probably be getting the Figma Celine, which will already have a Rowlet that is undoubtedly going to be a little nicer than this. So yeah, Rowlet, not that great. Now, Dartrix, on the other hand, very cool because the other one is going to be a Moncole figure, and yeah, that's cool, but this is a very nice one in and of itself, so it's great to have one of these bad boys in your collection. Plus, he already looks mischievous, so if you want to cause some shenanigans on your shelf, why not go ahead and have this one? One of the biggest letdowns, though, I would have to say would undoubtedly be Decidueye. Though he does look very, very nice, the articulation essentially doesn't do it any favors, despite the fact that, again, Incineroar was very awesome, and you're gonna have to have an import company like Tamashii Nations or Good Smile Company take a crack at it to really improve on it, and Primarina for the price point is really solid, whereas Decidueye here, for a Robin Hood Archer type fellow, can't even fire off an arrow. Yeah, it's pretty disappointing. But realistically speaking, we do have a Decidueye action figure that can hold a couple of different poses, and you know what, to be honest, I'm happy with it because 1, it's one of my favorite starters, and 2, I can actually, at least in part, recreate the team that I used throughout my playthrough of Moon. So for that reason, I'm happy. Plus, having another somewhat in-scale Pokemon to have in my collection, I'm content with that. Admittedly, this is a nice purchase and an exclusive from a company that's going to be going under soon, Toys R Us, but it is very clear to see that there are drawbacks here, especially when we have 2 other sets for the same price that were better. If you're going to go into this thinking that Decidueye and company are going to be over the moon amazing, temper those expectations, draw them back a little bit, and I think you will be pleasantly surprised. Well, folks, that's the end of this review. Thanks for watching, and be sure to follow me on social media to catch more behind-the-scenes shenanigans and updates. The end card should be popping up now with more hand-selected STR goodness for you to watch, so check out some of those videos. Be sure to check the description, too, to see where you can buy this figure or others like it, and some cool links, like the credits for this video, and other ways you can help out the channel. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch ya in the next video.